Students, this is the help video for Unit 4 focused on similarity. We're going to focus on these problems first. In graphing a line, it says you can use intercepts or change to slope-intercept form in order to graph. That I expect you to be able to do on your own. This one we'll do together. It says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line described. Then graph both the given line and the described line on the graph provided. There is no graph provided, but we're going to make one. We're going to do this one together on the left. So on the left-hand side, step one, we're going to go ahead and just graph our given line. And in this, y equals mx plus b, our b is positive 2. Our slope is negative 3 over 1, so that's a downward slope. So negative 3 over 1, or I could go up 3 over 1. Now, we want a line that is perpendicular to that given line and goes through the point negative 3, negative 5. So there is negative 3, negative 5. Step one, first we have to define our two qualities, and we need y equals mx plus b. First, we want the slope of our second line, and if it's going to be perpendicular, it has to be the inverse relationship to negative 3 over 1. So our slope is going to have to be positive 1 over 3. Then we need a value of x, which we have right there. Negative 3. Then we need a value of y, which we have right there, negative 5. We're going to solve for b. So we have negative 5 equals, this is negative 3 over 3 plus b. This is negative 5 equals negative 1 plus b. So our b equals negative 4, which means the equation of our second line is going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 4. Now, if we were to graph this, now, when you go to graph this, you're going to be at a negative 4 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our slope is up 1 and over 3, and it's positive. So up 1 and then over 3, down 1, over 3. And if you do this with a straight line, you see my lines are perpendicular. They make a right angle, and they go through our desired point. So the equation of this desired line is going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 4. Pause the video, do the one on the right, check your work. Let's do one of these together, especially since there's a typo here. Let's fix our typo first. It says, given a single endpoint and a midpoint, find the other. This should read endpoint. So what we have here is that you are looking, we have a segment with the midpoint. And one endpoint is -2, -9. Our other endpoint we do not know. I'm going to call it X and then Y. And our midpoint is -3, -8. There's two ways to do this, algebraically or logically. Let's go logically first. The distance between -1 and -3 is 1 unit, but notice you're going down the number line, -2 to -3. So technically we're minusing 1 there, which means from here to here, because it's a midpoint, must also be -1. Which means X is going to be -3 minus 1, which would make our other endpoint -4. -9 to -8, here we added 1, which means we have to add 1 there. So -8 plus 1 makes -7. The really easy way to check to see if you're correct is to graph these. So let's just do a quick graph here. -2, -9, so -2, -9 is going to be down here somewhere. -3, -8. It's going to be there somewhere. -4. It's a little bit farther, -7. If you look very carefully, yes, that physically looks like a midpoint with 2 endpoints. That's the easy way to check this, is to actually graph. You do the one on the right. Seven and 8, you simply label the given diagram and find all possible angles. So let's try this first one, get started. Colors really helpful are here. We're told that IHG, so IHG, trace and sweep, is 50. X. Cross it as you account for it. DHG is 125. DHG. And IDH, which is right there, is going to be 7X plus 4. Think in terms of things before you think in terms of algebra. Real simple. You can tell here that the green plus the blue equals the red. That's where colors come in handy. Green plus blue equals the red. Now you circle, plug, chug. Our green is right there. Plus our blue. Equals the red. You solve for X, you plug it in, and it specifically asks you to find, it is key to find IDH, which is after you solve for X, go back and find the green. Things before algebra, and the colors are really helpful here. So we have here parallel lines. You need to know your parallel lines and angles. So as a quick recap in the margin, 3 of the angles are congruent, 1 is supplementary. Ready? Alternate interior are congruent. Alternate exterior are congruent. Corresponding are congruent. All of these is angle is congruent to angle. Then you have consecutive interior, which is same side between the lines. Those are the ones that add up to 180. Once you know those, you simply sweep the angles you're working with and determine, are they congruent or do they add up to 180, and go from there. So, for example, the one on the left, let's physically trace it. They're on the same side of the stir stick. They're on the inside of 2 parallel lines. Therefore, you should see that these are consecutive interior angles, which means they add up to 180. You do your own algebra, plug it in. It specifically wants you to find the bold, which is that angle right there. Pause the video, do your own work. (11) and 12. Says for each figure below shows a triangle with one or more of its medians. So on the left here, if this is a median, that's a midpoint, 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 which makes this red dot be the centroid, which means from here to here, the yellow is twice as big as the blue. Keep that in mind. Ready? We are working with the segment M to X. So I'm going to pull it out here so it's a little bit easier to work with. M to X, and B here is our centroid. We know from the yellow to the blue, that's a 2-to-1 ratio there. So let's look at our algebra. We have MX is 8x, BX is 2 plus 2x, and then you don't have M to B. Ultimately, we want to find M all the way to X, but obviously we need to solve first for the value of the variable X. So things before algebra. Let's start with something simple. We know the black segment MB plus the green segment BX equals the red segment MX. We do not have anything for MB, so we're going to go like that. MB we don't have anything for. But we do have something for BX, which is 2 plus 2x equals 8x. So the problem here is, how can I find MB? Let's make ourselves a little, we know this relationship, MB equals, this is a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 of BX. Or another way we can say it is this, half of MB equals 1 of BX. Both of those are true. Which one do we want to work with? Well, we already have BX, and if we simply double it, so 1 of these gives us 2 of these, so 2 times 2 plus 2x, then you simply do the algebra, collect like terms, plug it in, and solve. Pause the video, do your own work, and restart. Okay, cross multiplying, that's something I expect you to be able to do yourself. Trace the corresponding sides in corresponding position with two different colors and color code if possible. Set up to solve for X. So what I mean by color coding, it's really helpful if you do this, is you color code short to short, long to long, and you use that to match and mirror your proportions. Match and mirror your proportions. It says, note the scale factor provided and the direction notes between the polygons. The polygons in each pair are similar. Find the missing side length. So all you have to do is be really, really careful with the direction of your scale factor here. Here on the right, 18, we are given a scale factor of 4, which goes with A, to 5, which goes with B. So I put your 4 where the A is and 5 where the B is, and use that to set up your proportion. Solve for X, and obviously we also want to find the side length after the fact. It says, note the given, the implied, and the freebie. State if the triangles in each are similar. If so, complete the similarity statement with the corresponding similar triangle and state what shortcut, angle, angle, side, or side, side similarity. If they're not similar, say the word not similar. Show work, no naked diagrams. So I'm going to do 20 here with you. I recommend you get two different colors and let's pull it apart. Be very careful as you get these numbers. That's 42. Careful, careful. That's not 35. That's not 42. That's going to be 35 plus 42. Okay, now we're going to go small, medium, large. So small to small. 30 to 55. I know 5 goes in here 6 times, and 5 goes in here 11 times. Let's check. Medium to medium, 42. I know 7 goes in here 6 times, 7 goes in here 11 times. 8 goes in here 6 times, 8 goes in here 11 times. Notice it's 6 to 11 all the way around. This would be a side similarity. So yes, they're similar. Side similarity. And now you have to trace it out. CDE. CDE. You want edge up bottom is going to be similar to CGH. That's how you do those. Okay, it says trace the overlapping angles, pull apart, and redraw smaller and larger triangles. Redraw with the label. Solve for the unknown. So there's two ways you can see these. Either you can see them as two separate triangles, or you can see these as segment pieces like this. And you ask yourself, what is going to be the best one to use for any given situation? So I'm going to take these and pull these apart. Be very careful when you pull these numbers here. Watch, that edge right there is 25. Physically trace it, the long edge here, 5x. Careful, 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 the long edge here, 21. This right here, the green, that is not 6, folks. It's 21 minus 6. It's going to be 15. Now that you've carefully pulled it apart, now you're going to make your ratio. I could go like this. 15 over 25 equals 21 over 5x. I could go 15 over 21 equals 25 over 5x. I could go 5x over 25 equals 21 over 15. Notice there's several ways you could make your proportion, but what's important is you match the sides and mirror the direction you go. You're going to trace the segments and set up a proportion and solve for the unknown. So just as one example, so you have to learn to match and mirror. Match and mirror. Okay, ready? Let's match these sides. Color code them. This unknown matches with 5. 18 is the whole side. 18 matches with the whole side over here, which is 4 plus 5, which is 9. Now that you've matched, there's several ways you can do this. I can go like this. X over 5 equals whole side over whole side, 18 over 9. I could also go this way. X over the whole side, 18, equals 5 over the whole side, 9. Either way, you're going to get the exact same thing. Cross multiply, solve for your unknown, plug it in, and check.